doing such things as rapid evaluations, where we always have a component where we run through workshops of an evaluation being evaluated in that particular instance, where we have workshops on such things as theories of change. But even to the most basic level, where often it is overlooked, such as going through such simple things as a problem tree, trying to explain what is the reason for that particular policy, why was it established in the first place, what is the problem it sought to respond to. So we cascade and put skeletons to everything so that you appreciate the entire value chain of an intervention in terms of what it was responding to and what were the indicators we had for that particular program. So that is what we usually do in terms of building individual capacities. Then we've also had interventions where we try and build institutional M&E capacities such as evaluation plans, guidelines, and we've also contributed to the integration of non-governmental institutions in the national evaluation system of our countries. If, for instance, you will allow me, in Uganda and Ghana, for instance, we worked in the water sector, where we tried to integrate non-governmental organizations working in the water and sanitation sector, trying to bring in their evidence in terms of assisting the government to sort of roll out water and sanitation across the Ghanaian population. So we have tried to sort of even create guidelines on how to improve civil society and government collaboration in M&E systems. And then we've also contributed to transitions towards evidence-based policy making. For instance, Prof. Ian will remember, there was a time where we piloted the evidence-based policymaking and implementation course, which was usually rolled out by the Nelson Mandela School of Public Administration at UCT. And that program was essentially targeted at senior management service officials. I think at the time it was from chief director level to DG level. But of course, our SMS levels in South Africa, they start from director level, so we'd probably also include our directors because they are part and parcel of the SMS service. So we are now also seeking to proliferate the use of M&E evidence in public sector planning and budgeting. And that is why we are currently rolling out studies on M&E systems, public planning systems, budgeting systems across our public sector to try and bridge that gap between M&E and those core governance practices of planning and budgeting, be it annual planning, medium-term planning, be it annual budgeting or medium-term expenditure frameworks. So that is where we are. I'm running out of time. But those are our achievements, colleagues. Trained over 200 high-level government officials in M&E, trained over 148 members of parliament. So Sisfuthi, whenever you have time, we can speak about the provincial legislature if you so wish, and we have the scope to do that. Obviously, we'll have to speak to TPME about that. So these are just some of our achievements to date, and we also contribute to scholarship. One thing I need to stress, colleagues, is the peer learning aspect of our work, because we often encourage our governments as far as possible to engage in such forums where we speak on best practices in M&E, because often training is not enough on its own, but when you supplement it with such learning events, such as conferencing, webinars. We have a series of webinars running at least every other month, and would like to encourage you to join those webinars where we can speak on such things as even at the local level. For instance, our April 20 webinar coming up will be juxtaposing a Uganda M&E forum that seeks to speak to issues of basic service delivery called Barazas, juxtaposing that with the South African Imbizo phenomenon, trying to track how far and how wide those are able to influence decision-making at the local level. But we also have webinars targeted at national government, provincial government, and Sisfuthi from this very province at OTP, and Ms. Kululi Wefaya, we're hoping to get them on our program, I think in May, where they'll be speaking about the M&E Research and Planning Forum at the grassroots level in one of our webinars. So we're hoping that we will also earn your favor in terms of those webinars. And then just to speak on some of our collaborations with the KZN provincial government, at times we've been invited to serve on the provincial evaluation steering committee by Sisfuthi, and we've been warmly received by colleagues who are part of that particular forum. And we did say in the previous meeting we had, I think it was in February, actually it was a month ago, 24th of February, that our participation in that provincial evaluation forum needs to be qualitative as much as quantitative. So we need to be those partners in that steering committee where after a year, when the provincial evaluation steering committee sits and evaluates Twendembele's contributions to that forum, we need to have things that are tangible so that we continue serving on it. Otherwise, if we just serve there to make up numbers, that partnership is futile. So that is our challenge, both to ourselves as Twende and the Provincial Evaluation Steering Committee as well and TPME, to say, how best are you going to use Twendembele as a capacity building partner of yours in that particular forum? So I think let me Chair, over to you.
Yes, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jen Norrens. I'm a lot shorter than everybody else. And as the presentation is being set up, so I am here as a representative of the SAMIA KZN MERL network, as well as a SAMIA board member, and I'm here with my colleague.
Greetings, colleagues. Good afternoon. My name is Marilyn Colborne. I'm from the Department of Economic Development, Tourism, and Environmental Affairs. I'm in the M&E Directorate there, but I'm also an active member of the KZN MERL network.
Great. Can we? Okay. So just very quickly, this is now a much more informal presentation on informal learning. I think, having heard from the past two previous speakers about the need for capacity development, peer learning networks are a really valuable way of adding to our professional development. So SAMIA, for those who don't know, and I would be very surprised if there are people here who don't know, but SAMIA is a national voluntary organization for professional evaluation. And one of its key aims is really to cultivate a vibrant community of the M&E sector, M&E practitioners that will really be able to guide and support an equitable and sustainable development in South Africa. And there are many benefits for being part of SAMIA as a member, and we do encourage you to come on board if you are not already. But one of the ways that SAMIA aims to achieve its mission of cultivating this vibrant M&E sector is through learning communities. And learning communities really are an important, and as I said, an important and valuable way of professional development. So this, many of you probably know about communities of practice and learning networks, but basically, a learning network or a community of practice is a group of people that come together on a common issue where they really want to learn more about it and improve on their knowledge and on their experience, but in a much more informal way. So there's a shared identity, there's a shared interest, there's a common purpose that comes together, but also what's valuable is that there's an exchange of information that's not necessarily a top-down type of learning experience, but much more mutual sharing of knowledge, of information and experience. There's mutual respect, there's a sense of communal identity, and also that openness to really engage in critical thinking and questioning each other's experience and really learning from each other. So peer learning is an important part of our professional practice and of our professional development. So we all know that there's obviously the formal training that one can do to learn about being an M&E practitioner. And then there's, of course, the practical experience, either through work or through voluntary experience. But we also learn informally, we learn through peer networking, we learn through reading and engaging in content, and we learn through reflection and consolidation. And that's really what we try to do in our KZN network, is we come together and we discuss on really important or interesting topics that are interesting to us as members and what we want to learn more about. Like we were just both saying, we would really like Professor Bob to maybe come and talk to us about AI and evaluation space and how we need to prepare ourselves. So I'm going to pass it over now to Marilyn to talk specifically about our network.
Thank you, Jen. I'll just take you through through a few slides on the KZN M&E Learning Network. The network was established in 2017, and as Jen has just alluded, it's a group of individuals building our professional capacity and development through sharing resources, providing information to one another, and just having a mutual respect and passion and interest for the field of monitoring and evaluation. The network was integrated as a chapter of SAMEA in 2021, and our specific vision is to promote monitoring and evaluation as a means for enabling collaborative learning and development of individuals and organizations in KwaZulu-Natal and beyond. Our mission statement: to be recognized as an M&E resource in KZN through professional evaluation, education, research, mentorship, and networking. We have 3 objectives: to create a platform for information sharing, learning, and networking, sharing relevant monitoring and evaluation consulting opportunities, and create knowledge through research. Currently, we have about 20 plus members, I think about 45 on our WhatsApp group, all at different levels of engagement. Our primary mode of communication is the WhatsApp group that works very well for us. And we're a mixed blend of members from professionals and students, civil society, civil servants, NGO staff, independent consultants. And as I said, our primary modes of communication is WhatsApp. That seems to work best for all the members of the group. We also have an online platform, and we meet monthly for about 2 hours. We dedicate 2 hours a month, normally the last Saturday of the month, where we speak on topics of interest to members, which is usually a bit of a combo of theory and application. Previously, we used to meet pre-COVID physically, but generally now we find that the virtual space is working for us. We're actually getting a broader reach. And also with the integration of being a part of SAMEA as a chapter, we're finding that our reach is extending even beyond the borders of KZN. So these are just some of our sessions that we've done. Pre-2020, we had some input into the eThekwini Municipality M&E framework. We also had input on a theory of change for an organization in Empangeni. Terms of reference, discussion and feedback for the KZN Liquor Authority. Topical areas around gender in M&E, looking at issues of ethical considerations in M&E. And when the pandemic hit, it was also quite beneficial being a part of the network, looking at how we can adapt our practices as M&E practitioners with the unfolding pandemic. From 2020 to 2022, we've done a deep dive into developmental evaluation, looking at a project in eThekwini Municipality with waste pickers. We had an interactive session with Dr. Lauren Wilskett from CREST at Stellenbosch, where she took us through a qualitative analysis with Atlas TI. We also had a presentation by Dr. Charlene Mouton on deliverology and how that was applied in the Western Cape. Data visualization, we've had some influence into the SAMEA theory of change, as well as into the SAMEA professional competencies of an evaluator. Some of our upcoming plans for this year. So generally what we would do is send out a survey to our members to look at areas of interest so that the network can be relevant and valuable to the members of the group. Earlier this year, we had a writing and publishing discussion with Dr. Paul Kariuki. We're going to be discussing feminist evaluation as part of International Women's Month on Saturday, 25th of March, yeah. We're going to be having Professor Ian Goldman on the Just Transition Guidelines later on in this year. And as Jen said, we probably would be looking at inviting Prof to do a session with us on ChatGPT and AI and how we can adapt that as M&E practitioners. So these are just a few testimonies from some of our members. We've got Tanya, who says that he wanted to learn more about M&E and bring it into other areas of his work and was looking for an association to help him learn. And the network has forced him to read and study more to get into the books. Claudel Dunn, she says, I've been out of the M&E academic space for quite a while, and the network provided an opportunity I needed to get back into the theoretical M&E space and improve my knowledge and practice in M&E. The M&E monthly meetings also provided welcomed me time to network with peers and have hearty discussions around M&E topics. And I see my name there as well. I've transitioned into the M&E space. It's about 4 years now. So for me, being a part of this network has really developed myself from a career perspective, being with like-minded people, interfacing with students and practitioners, and offering a different platform to really apply the theory that we learn, you know, in our different traditional learning spaces. These are our contact details. We are here throughout the seminar, so if anybody wanted to, chat to us or be put onto our WhatsApp group, you're most welcome. Myself, Jen, and then we've got Dr. Tamlin Fleetwood, who's not in the room, but there's her Gmail address, as well as...
Is seen as an area of great need and a nice space for people within local government to be networking and building capacity together. Thank you.
Wow, let's give them a very big round of applause. Thank you very much. This is very good, the work that is done by the ladies. And thank you very much, Dr. Tlakavu. I've asked him if he needs more time. He said it's fine because the ladies have taken less time than what was allocated to them, but it's fine. The presentation is available. And I think from what he shared, we really need to look into the issues of integration of the social partners and maybe also a live database where it will just be a repository for our evaluations that we do. And just keep the network between ourselves as also the social partners. And maybe in our next seminar, 40 and the colleagues, we just need to hear a lot of what the ladies have presented today in terms of how really we network amongst ourselves as KZN and also outside KZN. Thank you very much to all our presenters. We'll now move to the discussions. If there are any hands, I think I will use what Marty was doing earlier, just the numbers, because we cannot see the names from this far. Okay, there's number 1. Someone to help me with the hands. The light here, it's very bad. I hope the pictures are going to be beautiful from this light. Yeah. There's 1 hand. Any other hand? Going. Anything that you want to share from these presentations or to add or to share in your space a little bit. We are opening it up because we have that, leisure of time, just 10 minutes. Okay, I'm taking this hand only. Thank you.
My name is from KZN Strategy. I've got 2 questions. The first one for Buteni and the other one for Professor I. I saw in the presentation that Buteni made, the still referred to the definition of what evaluation is, which talks to the criteria. And I heard Prof. Goldman earlier saying we are limited in terms of what we look at because we now have to also include issues of equity. I want to check whether is there a process of actually adding it to the NMPF, or you are going to roll it out on the basis of the guidelines and not actually changing the definition of what evaluation is. And then for Dr. I heard you saying you trained about 100 people on M&E. I just want to, out of interest, and I'm just checking here, have you ever tried to evaluate the success of the training? What are the tangible results of the training in terms of whether, then when you leave these people, are they able to practically implement the evaluations, or we are only probably measuring the success of it based on the number of the people that we've trained? Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any other hand? Okay, there's another hand here, hand number 2. Can we have a mic next to the camera? Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kamutu Mtembu. I'm from the National Department of Public Works. My question is directed to Mr. Diniko. I'm sure everyone is very, very much aware of the challenges that we go through as government or as the public service, that most of the time people don't understand what is research, what is evaluation. So we basically lack awareness. You and I and everybody in this room can understand what is the purpose of research, what is the purpose of evaluation. But the people that we have to work with, or the stakeholders that we have to engage, or that we have to get their cooperation or their collaboration, are normally negative. But it's not being negative because they're negative, it's lack of knowledge. It's lack of awareness what evaluation or research can do, as the previous speakers have been talking to. So to DPME, I'm just thinking that one of the things that could be done is to come to the national department, specifically with a department like National Department of Public Works, for awareness and advocacy on what evaluation can do to a department like them that is very, very much on the coal face, and what research can actually assist with certain decisions. As Mr. Ian has talked to say we need to act now. And the action can actually be coming from national departments or from the public service. I also like the rest of the evaluations, the rest of the presentation from the speakers. But my focus is mainly on what can be done to educate or to make more awareness to the people who we want to talk to and who we want to make impact to, and who we also want them to come through to collaborate with. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other hand before the responses? Okay. Can I hand over to the presenters to respond on the question?
Thank you, colleagues, for those questions. Let's start with the first questions that looks like the limitations of the definition of evaluation as commonly made by Dr. Ian. Well, colleagues, you would perhaps be aware that the evaluation process has a phase that's called a pre-design and a design. So basically the definition that we presented here, it only outlines the unit of analysis and how the DAC criteria is used to kind of judge. But during the pre-design and the design element or process or phase of the evaluation, that is where you need to clarify your questions. And during that process, during the design of the evaluation study, where you put terms of reference, you need to factor in what is the main objective of undertaking an evaluation. So if you want to look at questions that respond to issues of climate, like implementing the guideline as presented by Prof, you look at those requirements around that pre-design or design stage, where you clarify the questions that you'd like the evaluation to perhaps respond to. So you can see that the definition that I presented, it does not necessarily box you in a way. But that is why I didn't want to just read it, but provide context as to what is it that it actually requires whenever you say you are doing an evaluation. So this talks to the question that was actually asked by the colleague, the second colleague, to say that there is lack of understanding. Yes, we agree. But now, one of the mechanisms that the colleagues in the afternoon will look at is the process of ensuring that the evaluative processes are consultative and there is buy-in from all stakeholders in terms of ensuring that, and that will ensure that there is a sense of ownership from the beginning of undertaking an evaluation. So I also would like to perhaps lead you, I think, to a presentation. I'm hoping that Dr. Mticho will come and touch into this, because he is one of those people that have presented a case study on how to best win the buy-in of executives, the buy-in of program managers in terms of ensuring that evaluations are embraced. So in his presentation, I'm gunning on you, Doc, that maybe you will provide that scenario to show that it is very important to ensure that the targeted stakeholders actually understand what an evaluation is and what is it that it is meant to achieve. I think I've addressed all the questions, unless if I've missed something. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we get the second response?
Okay. Thanks, Chair. I think I just had one question from Khululiwe, which was, has Twende evaluated the effectiveness of our training, which is a great question. So Khululiwe, I think the most clearest example of our effectiveness, I would point you to an evaluation that was done in 2019, external evaluation by, I think it was Kulisa. I'm just forgetting the second entity that was doing that evaluation, which was a mixture between an implementation and outcome evaluation. And some of the intermediate outcomes that came out of that, and our methodology, just to show how credible it was, we took two case studies, I think it was Ghana and Uganda, and then we distributed surveys to the other four members of the Twende network. And what we got there is that people were quite positive in terms of how those training programs were unleashed and also capacitated them to sort of discharge their day-to-day M&E functions. And then to go, let me give you the informal evaluations we get now, where, for instance, in Uganda, we were approached. The Office of the Prime Minister says we have had a complete overhaul of our M&E directorate. Please come and train us. Not just the executive, but also the judiciary. I've never heard of building an M&E system in the judiciary, which are the administrators of justice as well as interpreters of laws, in terms of are those laws effective in sort of advancing socio-economic rights and interests of people. So now we've been commissioned to go and do the training next week. And then on the third day, we are doing M&E training solely for the judiciary. And it speaks to sort of the nuanced training we provide. Even in parliaments, we still get demands to go and do trainings for parliamentarians, not just MPs, but also permanent staff like researchers. So I think our training programs do find resonance amongst our participants. Yeah, I think let me leave it there.
Thank you very much. There was no question for the ladies. Yeah. All right. Let's give all our presenters a very big round of applause as they are taking their seats. Thank you very much for the wealth information that you have shared with us. And as I've indicated, we'll continue to network with you just to ensure that we keep connected. We'll now move to the last part of our session before lunch, which is the panel discussion. Can I invite Ms. Futima Zibugo? I don't see her here, and also Ms. Nokpila Mtembu, Ms. Kululiwe Fire, and also Dr. Siviwe Ndicha. Doctor. So we are looking forward to that presentation. These are our panelists, if they can just join us here, so that we also allocate time and they share what they have with us. I don't see Futhi Mazibuko. I'm sure she has stepped out. Maybe we will just start with Mtembu. And then we'll only take Futhi when she's back. Here there's an hour that is allocated to our panelists, but yeah, we will have to give 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, unless your presentations are longer than 10 minutes. Is 10 minutes fine for all of you? Are you fine with 10 minutes? Mtemba, are you fine with 10 minutes? Okay. Can we then stick to 10 minutes? I will set up time for all of you. Over to you, Ms. Mtembu.
Thank you, Program Director or Facilitator. Greetings to all of you, colleagues. I'm just going to say all protocol observed for the sake of time. As introduced, I am Nokupila Mtembu from KZN Kokta, in the unit or in the business unit called Municipal Performance Monitoring, Reporting and Evaluation. Thank you. Colleagues, mine is very short, is to just to share with you as to where we are as local government in terms of institutionalizing evaluations. A lot of colleagues before me have spoken a lot about institutionalization of evaluations, either across government, either at national, provincial, and local government. But I'm here to just to give you feedback on where we are as local government, and also to highlight if there are any challenges in the proposed strategies moving forward. I don't know, there seems to be a challenge with I need to move to the next slide. I hope you'll consider the time, facilitator.
Of course.
Yeah, okay. In the way of introduction, we're saying as local government, within COCTA, we are a unit that mainly focus on municipalities, performance. We are responsible for the implementation of Chapter 6 of the Municipal Systems Act, where we look at institutionalization of performance management system, and also looking at whether it is well established in all municipalities. But there comes now the issue of monitoring and evaluation. Now we need then to look at how do we then integrate that into what is our tradition of looking into performance management, either at an organizational level or at an individual level. We saying in municipal performance monitoring, reporting and evaluation is informed by the municipalities' performance management frameworks. All municipalities, they have performance management framework that they adopt each and every year. If they are updating or reviewing those, they have to take them to council for them to be adopted. That really explains how are they going to go about planning, monitoring, reporting, implementing, and also reviewing their performance management system, which later should then go back to the whole cycle again of the performance management system. This all facilitates the issue of accountability, but at this moment, or where we are as local government, we are at that level where we are looking at performance management mainly at an organizational level and also at an individual level, and we haven't dwelled or drive much to evaluations. We are currently looking into monitoring mainly. Most of the colleagues, they did speak to, even Professor from KZN did speak to the issue of performance management and looking into accountability and the indicators and the smartness principle. I'm not going to talk to the purpose, but let me then highlight what we do in terms of monitoring, which we're mainly saying from a monitoring, we need to then move into evaluation. We continuously track performance against what was planned, and we collect that data, that is municipalities, and they then monitor those. But for evaluation purposes, which we have not started as yet as local government, it also provides continuous information on whether there is progress towards the achieved results or the outputs that were made to be recorded, and keeping up with regular reporting. So that's where we are, and it also identifies strengths and weaknesses in terms of performance. Where gaps are identified, we'll have to put in what are the reasons for variances and what are the corrective measures or remedial actions in place. It is mainly used for ensuring that there is improvement in implementation of performance management. But again, I will always, throughout the presentation, indicate that where we are as municipalities. Our monitoring involves three main tasks. We measure performance, we compile reports on a quarterly basis, and we consolidate that report. We all have our mid-year report, and we have our annual report, which is our Section 47 report, which is reported, and that's how municipal managers and managers that are accountable to the municipal manager report on their performance in terms of what targets they have planned for that specific year. We then, in terms of evaluations, I'm not going to look into how we define evaluations. My colleague from DPME has explained that yes, there are different definitions of evaluations, but it depends on how you look into it and what kind of evaluations you would want to implement for what purpose. We always attempt to improve in terms of trying to ensure that we do evaluations, and in terms of evaluations for municipalities, we only mainly looking at evaluations in terms of performance and evaluations in terms of whether senior managers have done what they have signed for, or in terms of their performance agreement. So that's the evaluation part that municipalities are currently embarking on, not on evaluations of programs or projects, but evaluations in terms of their implementation plans, in this case your SDBIP, your performance plans, and your annual performance plans. So the evaluation, it happens in two levels. It's either in an organizational level and also at an individual level. At an organizational level in municipalities, it is mainly done through the annual assessment or the reporting process. However, it is useful for municipalities to do periodic subject-specific evaluations to try and improve service delivery. That's what we've been trying to encourage, and what other speakers have already said, to say we need to now make sure that we institutionalize evaluations so that we are able to improve on our service delivery. Professor Ian indicated that we wouldn't even know whether where we put our money is the value for money, whether we need to change the way we're doing things, because we've been traditionally doing things the same way over and over again. But if we do not evaluate, we will not be able to know whether we need to improve or not, and whether there is value for money in what we've been implementing, specifically when it comes to programs and projects. The current evaluation practice at local government, I've indicated that the only evaluation that local government is implementing is based on performance of individual and at an organizational level. But in the context of what we are talking about today, the evaluation of programs and projects, there are no evaluations that have been conducted by any of the municipalities except for eThekwini Metro. We're saying, however, it is clear that M&E units within municipalities are not fully resourced or capacitated enough to undertake those evaluations independently. And they haven't even started even to outsource, let alone doing it internally. So that's the status currently. Only eThekwini is able to initiate evaluations and undertake those evaluations. Furthermore, municipalities are currently conducting assessment as legislated, as I've already indicated. The only evaluation and assessments that municipalities are conducting are those ones that are legislated in terms of the regulations and the Municipal Systems Act. The current local government organogram is currently, it only includes the IDP unit, which is our strategic planning and performance management. The monitoring and evaluation part, really, it is not been established in most of the municipalities. Hence, we will have mostly performance managers in municipalities, but not a fully fledged M&E unit within municipalities. So if we are to include the evaluation aspect, we will need to relook at how we are structured as local government, but that will come in our strategic suggestion or what we suggest moving forward. There are challenges, even though we haven't undertook or to institutionalize, but we have seen, these are the challenges that we foresee, that a local government sector is specific evaluation guidelines. They need to be finalized. I had my colleague from DPME saying they will be finalizing those by Q1 of the new financial year. We're hoping that by then we will be able to take off, and that we need to ensure that there is capacity development within practitioners within municipalities for PMS practitioners, and if there are monitoring and evaluation specialists within the municipalities, that needs to be capacitated. There is also a need for staff within evaluation to be capacitated even at a provincial level. We as COGTA, Municipal Performance Unit, we've done a few evaluations, some at a small scale, and we thereafter look at implementation of the improvement plans based on the recommendations and the findings of those evaluations. But we haven't then extended our hand to support municipalities as they do not have enough capacity to do evaluations. and also the issue of a budget and all that. Here are the proposed strategies. They are not exhaustive, it's just a few, but when we discuss at a provincial level, we will then extend other proposed strategies that we might need to employ in making sure that we institutionalize. One is to conduct a readiness assessment. I saw in the presentation by my DPME colleague that they will be conducting assessment, capacity assessment and needs assessment to all municipalities. We might need to work together to see how fast we can fast track this. Also create a generic structure organogram to all municipalities which will include M&E units and also focus on evaluations. We're also looking at the phased approach to institutionalization. We understand that it cannot be a one go. We need to phase it municipalities. The issue of capacity development, I've already spoken to. We need to also look at the targeted capacity building programs for municipalities and also to promote awareness. Thank you, facilitator.
Thank you very much. Let's give a very big round of applause. Thank you so much, Nokphila Mthembu. I think we'll move to 40. Whilst Futhi is approaching the podium, we will ask Prof. Moshabel, since he deals with a lot of practical evaluation, to close this session for us. Prof, are you still in the room? Thank you very much. I've been instructed by the ladies here, it's not me, that they said they are working with you very well, so they would love you to, oh, sorry about that, to close this session for us once the last speaker is finished. Thank you. Over to you, Masibuko. We are going to steal 15 minutes from our lunch break, as Marty indicated earlier. Instead of us going at 1:45, we are going to go at 2 o'clock, and then we only have 45 minutes to enjoy our lunch. So those are the changes in the program. Thank you. Over to you, Futhi. For 10 minutes is counting.
Colleagues, good afternoon. It's Futhi Mazibuko. I know some of the people who are here have not met me in person. This is Futhi. Again is my name. Okay, as the organizer, I have to steal 1 minute from the chairperson and congratulate everyone who is here today. We have again been successful in having a second evaluation seminar for KZN province. Thank you so much, colleagues. Thank you so much for coming as well. You are part of this. Again, I would like to thank Mrs. Milne. She's not here for now. We've been running around. Mrs. Mill and my team, my colleagues in the Office of the Premier, we're such a very small team, but to come this far with a seminar like this, really, it did put a strain on us, but we also, I would like to thank them because I don't have another time in the program where I can do this. And also the colleagues who agreed that they will be doing the program, directing the program for us, Siskuku, Shabangu, and Mr. Zondi. Thank you so much, Sibongeleni. Also, our speakers and trainers, because our speakers will be trainers tomorrow, some of them. So thank you so much for availing yourselves to share the skill with us, to share the knowledge, because again, this is us trying to learn. This is the best way that we can. Also, the PESC, my Ride or Die committee in the province, we started in 2019, late, but the PESC was launched in June, around June in 2020. I really am thankful that we have come this far. Also, the colleagues from DPME, COGTA, eThekwini Metro, Status A, all the provincial departments, all the academic institutions, all our entities in the province, the local government, and our partners, Twendempele is here, our young doctor. We also have Samia National, they support us. We also have Samia Mel, which is the colleagues that left earlier on here. And we also have my colleague all the way from Eastern Cape, just behind me, another doctor, Dr. Siviwe Mdichwa from COGTA. And we also, I can see we have a room filled with the young evaluators, whether they're emerging or they are at advanced stage, but we acknowledge to see the young evaluators in the field. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, colleagues. I won't keep my presentation. It's just the highlights of how far we've done from what we had reported last year in our last seminar. I won't bore you with the outline of the presentation. The presentation is coming. We use mainly the PESC as the main driver of the evaluations in the province. Prof. Bob and Prof. Musa Mshabela are our champions, really, colleagues. We get a lot of guidance from them. They always come to our meetings. They always advise us. They are always keen to share the knowledge. We have only so far only eThekwini Metro from the local municipalities. Otherwise, we have the provincial departments. We had a provincial evaluation plan that had 6 evaluations. We have completed that evaluation plan. That's why we currently have requested for new evaluations. 1 evaluation was dropped from that plan, but the 5 of them are completed. And we are currently monitoring 23 evaluations that were planned for 22-23. Some of them have been completed, and some of them were put on hold. We've had so many issues in KZN since the entire world, the COVID, and then was unrest, and then the floods. So our speed has kind of gone a bit down in terms of the evaluations that we have been undertaking in the past. It was mentioned that we reported 53 last year. So of that 53, part of the 23 that I've just mentioned now is part of the 53. It's just that the 53 is 22-23 financial year. We will know, colleagues, that again, you may say you will do the evaluation this year, but it may overlap to the next financial year. We had our seminar last year. I'm sure colleagues would want to know how successful it was. The report is there, but we will publish it. We were hoping that we'll be able to print and share so that everyone can see what was the outcome of the seminar for last year. 150 participants were invited. We had 142 physical and 37 online. That was for last year. And from last year, these were the recommendations. Build the capacity. Well, I love capacity development. I think maybe it's from the background where I'm coming from, our ex-statistician general was emphasizing that teach a black child, give them the opportunity that they never had. So that is one thing I carry in my heart. That is why I won't go and say, where is your evaluation, without any chance of imparting knowledge. You can't ask people to evaluate if you have not capacitated them. There's no official university that is doing undergraduate studies on evaluation. So our expectations should come again with some level of training and capacity building within, on the job. Institutionalization of evaluations, I think a lot of my colleagues have spoken about. It was part of the seminar recommendations and the stakeholder engagement, as well as integrated indicator framework and dissemination of evaluations. I've spoken to this slide, I will just skip. From what we did last year from the recommendations, we addressed these training needs that were identified by the province. Again, this year we said we should bring the theory of change, managing and commissioning evaluations, as well as the theory of change I've mentioned. We have a rapid evaluation as well, and the policy briefs development. I think Mati spoke to it earlier this morning. So due to the need, and then we are providing it in this seminar today. We also had workshops. We did regional workshops to the municipalities. We just wanted to create appetite, colleagues, to the local government colleagues within the municipalities. We had invited them in our seminar last year. We saw a few of them. Then we went to their spaces, regionalized the workshops. We were with our COCTA colleagues. It was great to see that, okay, the colleagues don't know what is evaluation about, but you could see that there was an interest. And we also had this IIF training. It was also, it came from the recommendations. With Status A, this one we held on the 6th and 7th. Status A, the IIF training, the level of technical, the standards, development of standards, etc. So indicators, colleagues, those who were there, it was about 120 of us from the province learning from Status A, and eventually what we want to see is to have a full consolidated indicators for the province. I heard one of the speakers quoting that we see a lot of duplications. We're trying to eliminate that. This is just roughly the outcome of the workshops, the 3 workshops. 105 officials participated. Out of 54 municipalities at least, only 10 did not attend. Chances are due to the distance that was in between, or because of the capacity in the local municipalities. You find out that there's no one at that time. We were building the capacity, like I said, so that is how we pitched our workshops. And it was clear that eThekwini Metro, as one of the local government space, has done the evaluations. So the southern region was lucky to have eThekwini Metro to share their experiences. But at least today we have Siskuliwe to do the same again. I think Sisnokpila has alluded to this, that this is what is happening at the space of municipality, so I won't go through it. The colleagues will see it from the presentation. We'll then move, I would also the recommendations. I think she has touched on a lot of them, that there are no generic structures or organograms to support evaluations at the local government level. So that is what we will be discussing at a level of the province as well, with the assistance from the national. Also the advocacy campaign at a Munimec level, where we will be trying as much as we can to bring the subject of the program evaluations to the local government. These are the challenges, these are overall challenges that we experience in the province, and they are not different from what other provinces experience and what other space where evaluations have been undertaken experience. The budget for evaluations, there are some departments in the 3 years that they have not undertaken any evaluations, because every time they provide the proposal, yeah, it is accepted, but when the time comes for evaluation, then it gets dropped. And there's capacity issues. The dropping of evaluations, not that because of the floods, but because it's still a long way to go to make, I would say, to drive the change in terms of how evaluations are perceived. So sometimes you get dropped because it's not the subject of interest. And the lack of the financial resources. The evaluation plans, okay, it's still an issue, the development. Sometimes you find out there's an evaluation just for the interest of having the evaluation, but it is just way outside what should be evaluated. We have the priorities of the province. We have the Lekgotla resolutions, we've got SOPA, we've got SONA, and also a lot of challenges. So that is where we need to look for the critical evaluations. In some cases, you can see if you issue a call to units, because that is how the guidelines say, then they will just, for interest's sake, okay, this is what we want to evaluate, running away from the real programs that needs evaluation. And the involvement of senior managers. I think moving from here is just to get them where they are all by themselves. I will be just a small Iqwane there, just to table all these issues that we have in our evaluation space. So I won't read all of them, colleagues, but we do also have the recommendations, and some of them are being addressed by this evaluation seminar. Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give her another very big round of applause, because she's an organizer. And she's so beautiful. Thank you very much, Futsi, for putting all of us together in this room. Thank you so much. We'll now move to Khululiwe. We'll start timing you, Khululiwe. We also have 10 minutes.
Afternoon, colleagues. Whilst I'm being assisted with my presentation, can I just see by the show of hands if there are any local municipalities in the house? Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I feel at home, colleagues, when I see you.
Yeah.
I haven't started.
All right.
So mine, I was asked to come and share the practical learnings as a municipality for the sake of the local government. So my name is Kuruliwe Fire. I'm from eThekwini municipality, as they've said. In terms of M&E, I won't quote this because everybody knows it, but I wanted to focus our attention on the framework for performance information, where it says that it makes provisions for collecting, collating, verifying, and storing of performance information. I will come later in terms of that. When I arrived in the local sphere, in the eThekwini municipality in 2017, there were comments that were made. I was told that, no, you know what, we are fine in terms of monitoring. We're just lacking on evaluations. And again, we had found that there's a lot of people who had attended trainings that were conducted through SAMIA. We even brought the NSG to come and train us on how to commission evaluations. But none of those evaluations had ever taken place. So that's why I was interested earlier on when Twende Mbele was presenting in terms of do we even go back and check if there's results of these trainings, are there tangible results on the ground? So my attention actually is towards the municipalities. The first thing was that for us as a PME, a Performance Monitoring and Evaluation Unit, we had to look at our structure. The structure for PME unit, it existed as this, as you can see here. Monitoring was being done on the side and evaluations was being done on the side. We had 4 sections that were looking, 2 on evaluations and then 2 on monitoring. The outputs for those was that we wanted to specialize those that are dealing with the SDBIP because we have legislated timelines. We also wanted people that are going to deal with IPPs, which Ukokta has just spoken about, the declaration of interest. So it's not only M&E strictly that we do at local government, but we also have these, also annual reports and also undertaking evaluations. Now the challenge with that internally was that we realized that there's an absence of monitoring. We talk of monitoring, but in actual fact, it's not actually monitoring. It's just collecting of information from units and then reporting on them. But there is a disjuncture if you look at what is being said in terms of our reports versus what is on the ground. There was no desktop verification that was, there was desktop verification that was being done, but there was no analysis. I thought I'm moving. I didn't even see that the slides are not moving. Now, can it move? Okay. So this is the slide I started with, and then I was here showing the structure. And this one. Now I'm here to show the challenges that we had, the fact that there was absence of monitoring. Monitoring, by its definition, says that tracking performance as a means of guiding, but we did not do that. There was only desktop information, verification that was done. You cannot say you have 100 houses that you have built, but you've never seen them as M&E. You are only talking to 100 that have been reported. We've had cases where you look at documentation that is very good, and also budgets that have been spent, but on the ground, these projects are not there. So those are the things that we had to look into. There was also lack of exposure to evaluations by M&E officials. We have M&E people, but that are claiming to be doing M, but at the same time, they're only doing reporting. It's not even monitoring. So that was another thing that we had to look into internally, and the absence of evaluation from the inception of the unit until 2017. Internal to the eThekwini municipality, another challenge that we looked at was that we have legislated timelines. This is a condition for all municipalities. We've got year-long annual report processes, IDP processes, midterm amendments, the SDBIPs, and all of those stuff, which then makes evaluation to seem like it's an add-on activity. Meanwhile, it is not. We found that some of the units did not warm up into evaluation. When you talk about evaluation, one, they don't know what evaluation is and how is it related to what they have to do. Inadequate planning processes, the setting of indicators. We also looked at the SDBIP itself to see that, in fact, indicators that are used to track this performance are actually wrong. They are not actually tracking the right things for us. So we had to go back and do internal reflections as a eThekwini. There's lack of budget for evaluation. This is both in terms of recruitment of staff as well as the commissioning of evaluations. Lack of documentation. You find projects and programs that exist, but there's no inception documents. And also takes months to get inception documents. We are unable also to publish our evaluation reports. And in terms of that, to gain buy-in from our administrators, we make a disclaimer to say we are not going to publish these findings because we want them to warm up to the idea. So now the current implementation approach by eThekwini municipality now, after having done these reflections, we then said, no, let's take an M&E generalist approach. We then had to change the structure. So I'm just sharing these practical things that we can actually look into because we want to talk at the practical level, not at the philosophical level as the municipalities. We then said, no, we have to have both monitoring and evaluation in the same space. We can't have specialists at that level. We can't specialize in monitoring or evaluation. Otherwise, you have cut out your career. So by that, we had to then build capacity internally. And also by that is training people that are internal who have been doing M&E and capacitating them. So the process looks as this. We're monitoring. We start with the SDBIP reports that are captured. We do monthly desktop and physical verification. And then we build evaluations in that. We don't... Okay, for instance, if there is a physical verification that is being done for a quarter report, our evaluators also go in the same time so that we collect the data without having to interrupt these whole processes that and the strict timelines that we are facing as municipalities, and then the process continue. I won't go deep into that. But what opportunities have we seen for evaluation? The first one was that we had to establish a metro learning network. We have a metro learning network. This consists of all metros, all M&E officials within all these metros. We initiated it as eThekwini. I've been a secretariat of it. We meet on a quarterly basis. And then secondly, an opportunity that also existed was that of a public employment program. If you know the presidency, they gave us 100 and something million as a municipality to recruit unemployed youth. What we did was that we then pitched in as M&E to say we also want to be given some of these youth that are being paid through this program. So we then got graduates. It's 181 of them, candidates in 2 per ward, who were utilizing the ArcGIS survey tool to collect and analyze data. We have started now to link that performance with the performance of the units. Also, another opportunity is that of capacity building. We are doing that internally. We assign people rapid evaluations, and then we take them step by step. So it's practical. It's not a training, a once-off event, but we are there. I'm basically the lead person in terms of this capacity building process. Again, through EPSC, as Ufute has said, we are part of the steering committee. We go to meetings wherever we are needed. But what we want to do is always share step-by-step practical exercises. So what I'm saying to the municipalities is that we are here as eTheku. You don't have to pay us anything. We can do this step-by-step evaluation exercises with you so that we can then help each other in terms of capacitating you in terms of evaluations. These are the achievements. Since 2017 to date, we've conducted 10 rapid evaluations. Ufute, she spoke about the evaluation plan of the province. Some of our evaluations are part of that. We are collaborating with other municipalities in terms of the Metro Learning Network. We've got a draft M&E policy framework as well as evaluation plan. We have not passed it through to the council because, as you know, all of our documents have to go through council for approval. The reason is that we are testing the environment. Once we have this, we have to test whether what we have said and what we are committing ourselves to, is it working or is it not working, so that we can refine it. So I believe by next year, based on the instruction by the KZN Premier, I'm sure we will be having a final evaluation plan and M&E framework. So how has our evaluation influenced decision making? This is my last slide. The two, in fact, 3 of our studies, we've had one of the studies being commissioned by the eThekwini Municipal Academy. It was on cooperative education policy, as well as the ISDG grant, infrastructure skills development grant. It was commissioned by them. We did those internally. Some of them, one of them was done through a service provider. We have set with them in terms of the improvement plan, and the commitment that comes from them in fact, what happened was that we did this in time for the revision of the policy. So we have seen some of the work that we've done in terms of influencing policy decision. The IDP, as well as other IDP study, it also helped in terms of us looking into our planning processes. We are now forging our way as MNEs in terms of the planning processes. Other studies are being currently done. Thanks, colleagues.
Thank you very much. Just on time. Thank you very much. We'll now move to Dr. Siviwe Mtitwa. Yeah, I hope I've said it right. We'll allocate 10 minutes, and then after him, we'll then take Prof to close the session for us before we move to lunch. Thank you.
Thank you, Program Director. Good afternoon, colleagues. I won't greet you, all of you, because of time. I'll just copy and paste from what the colleagues have done in terms of greetings. Let me first take this opportunity to congratulate my friend here. She's my friend now, Ufuti. We connected at our National Samia conference, and I was inspired with the work done by the province, KZN. And as a result of that, I made a commitment at the conference to say, in our province, Eastern Cape, we are going to have our own provincial evaluation seminar for local government. So last week, she was in Eastern Cape, where we held our first provincial evaluation seminar as COGTA. So the issue of learning is quite important. So I was just inspired by the work done in this province. It is also safe to say, Diniko, that there's something special about KZN and Eastern Cape. There's something special about these two provinces. If you check also from DPME, there is quite a lot of responsiveness from these two provinces. So it tells you that we are hungry for knowledge and also to make impact in the lives of our people. So we are doing quite a good job. Colleagues, I'll just share a few things with you. As per the program, just straight to the point, we know what the policy says in terms of what Diniko presented in respect of the National Evaluation Policy Framework of 2019. Then also, we know what it seeks to achieve at the end of the day. I won't go back into it. But there is one point, bullet number 3. There is quite a great demand for quality municipal services. There's a great demand, and that has subjected our government to scrutiny. And to some level of extent, it led to community protest. And one colleague of ours in the province said the communities are doing the M&E themselves. So if we don't do M&E, practically, communities, they are actually busy doing that. So what they do, if there's a project, they monitor the project themselves, then they report to media the progress of your project. And they are able to evaluate if this project is working or not. So if we are not moving with speed as practitioners in the space of M&E and research and planning as well, then we'll find ourselves at a crossroad with the communities. But now they are aware, they know what is expected from us and what they should benefit. Also, there's a concept of reality and the expectation, because the expectation is there in terms of government. We want to deliver services, but the reality is on the ground. It's a different story. But not to suggest that there is nothing good that we can pride ourselves about. There's a lot of work done by government, by municipalities, but due to the nature and the demand of service, we tend to pay more attention on the negative, and we are unable as government to give a picture of what we have done so far. And it becomes irrelevant to the communities if you tell them about what we have done as government, because they are interested to say, the project so-and-so is not moving. And we've been there at the site, the contractor is not moving at all. So we need to move with speed. Then again, I put this slide precisely to reflect where we ought to be, because we all know that by now, evaluation or M&E starts from planning. Then if you look at those blocks, 3 of them, if we were to achieve the results that we want, let's carefully examine ourselves honestly from your institution or as a government of the day. Bad plan plus good implementation is equal to perfectly doing the wrong thing. Then the second one, you've got a good plan coupled with a bad implementation, doing something poorly. But it's a right one, but it's done poorly. Now, I think as government, we are moving towards the last one on your right, the good plan and the good implementation. But if we were to be honest, we know where we belong. So we know where we belong. Hence, we are saying even our evaluation agenda should talk to the issues of the day. We should be able to influence the planning. I was just thinking, program director, whilst I was sitting down, we've concluded our planning documents now. I don't recall a process of the evaluation influencing the planning, because we call our sessions strategic planning sessions. But when we get into those planning sessions, those are templates. We populate templates. So we are confined to templates. We don't engage strategically on strategic conversations on the matters that we need to attend to as government. My colleague has touched on the PMS. We do know as municipalities that at our level there is a PMS which is legislated. But if you were to closely examine that requirement in terms of the PMS, in my assessment and in my view, it does not necessarily deal with the evaluation aspect, because it only monitors, check progress, reports on the IDP and SDBIP, but in terms of program evaluation, it's a bit silent. Hence, my next slide will talk to what we proposed or came as a result in terms of our study on the department. this is what I've just indicated in terms of the PMS. Not to say it's wrong, but we need to be careful when we approach that space, because the colleagues from local government, they can tell you, they will tell you, look, local government is highly legislated, and now you can't now come with yet another policy framework or legislation to say this must happen, because it delays the process of service delivery, which affects the expectation from the community side. This is just one slide. Futhi, I'll give you that presentation with the details of the paper. This one, it was just a case study in respect of our department on M&E institutionalization. Colleagues, we can plan. We can do our evaluations. We can have our provincial evaluation agenda, even for the local government. There's one aspect that we were testing, is the governance aspect. In a sense that if in any institution, the executive management of an institution doesn't institutionalize M&E, we as practitioners, we get frustrated. If your municipal manager, the Section 56 manager, in our case, the head of department, executive management, they don't institutionalize M&E, you'll be frustrated. So we made a case study in respect of our department. Our department wasn't doing well for quite a number of years in terms of performance information. Then when we came in 2019, we made a clear commitment to our HOD and MEC to say, look, HOD and MEC, it's November now. The plans are being implemented already. But we can promise you one thing. We are going to get a clean audit. It was mid already. And we delivered on what we had promised. But in the process, with the paper, we discovered that the issue that has been lacking was the governance aspect. Because in the management, even from the performance management of individuals from senior level, you can't have a director in terms of government provincially, a chief director, a DDG, having a work plan agreement which doesn't talk to M&E. Prof, the issue of planning, monitoring, reporting, and evaluation is everybody's business. It's not a responsibility of an M&E practitioner in a section or a department. It's everybody's business. And that's what we have done in the department in terms of institutionalizing M&E. If we were to go to our department now, we changed the approach of how it matters. Because in the past, it was like policing them. But now we thought, no, these colleagues are not specialists in the field. They specialized in various areas, and therefore we need to introduce them to the importance of what we do. Now, when we achieve these clean audits, year in and year out, now they see the value of M&E being institutionalized. And now my team, what we are busy with now, we are going to a lower level. Because when you talk senior management, they are solid, they are clear with what is expected. Now, we do not have any problems with our department. The system is working on its own. Even if I were to leave or my colleagues were to leave, would be good to go in terms of ensuring that there is sustainability within the M&E space. Lastly, on our seminar, in our province, only less than 5 municipalities with M&E units out of 39. Now, hence we organize a provincial evaluation seminar precisely for local government, the municipalities. Majority of them, they were part of the seminar, and our intention was not to impose, was to say, let's reason together first on this aspect of M&E, so that we get an understanding of what they know in terms of PMS, or how best can we embed evalu or M&E on the existing PMS system without creating a new a pillar on the side that would create a lot of confusion. And as a result, what we found, Prof, from the seminar, most of the municipalities, they were saying, we didn't even know that there's a difference between M and E. We're just combining M and E. So when we thoroughly explained what monitoring mean, reporting mean, and evaluation, so to them, it was quite an exciting experience to be part of our seminar. Then, I want to go to this slide. The take home. Fortunately, Dr. Lagavu was part of our seminar as well, because he's part of our network. The capacity building aspect, we said as a province, no, in fact, as COGTA, we're gonna make use of that opportunity so that at least we build capacity at municipal level. Either we visit them in terms of the district, we come closer to where they are as a build-up to our provincial evaluation seminar again, so that we don't wait for yet another seminar to engage with our municipalities. But the appetite for it's there. Municipalities are excited. But now we are not just saying because the practitioners were there. We need decision makers, Prof, to be part of the discussion. Fortunately, our head of department clearly indicated that now we must take it to technical MUNIMEC, where municipal managers are, and discuss it and agree. So that if we say, let's embed M&E on PMS, we need to provide clear details, functions, responsibilities, and what have you, so that we link that with the budget of municipalities. By the time they will say, no, there is not enough money for this additional function. So we're going to take it there. What we agreed on as a resolution from our seminar, under each of those, there's a details in terms of what would happen and what have you. We will share that with our colleagues. But what came strongly was the issue of formal capacity building partnerships, not only with the likes of Ayabulela, but there are also universities that were there, that were keen to be part of the capacity building. Nelson Mandela University, Walter Sisulu, Forte University, they want to be part of what you are doing as government. And therefore, we agree that we need to facilitate those formal capacity building programs, and also the focused M&E institutionalization in municipalities. And we've got a plan that we're working on how best to institutionalize M&E in municipalities, and also to have a repository in respect of research and evaluation in the province, just for knowledge sharing. And then we shall create colleagues from SAMIA in the province. We're going to touch base with you so that we also establish ours in the province, or we revive it, because it fell along the road some time ago. So we have revived it. And then the last one, program director, is to establish a provincial evaluation task team, inclusive of municipalities. This one, program director, as COGTA, we don't agree with it. We want OTP to do their own thing, because they've been flat for a very long time. So they must create the task team on the side, but as COGTA will continue with our work with our municipalities. That's the end. Thank you, Program Director.
Enkos. Let's give him another very big round of applause. Thank you so much. And all our panelists, let's give them another very big round of applause. As Prof is approaching, thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us, for outlining what we have already done, what is happening on the ground, and the areas where we need to improve. We'll continue to talk to you. But from what they've shared, it looks like we really need a lot of these experiences, and to learn more on the evaluations that are happening on the ground. From our municipalities, from our departments, from our social partners. In the next seminar, let's get more of these evaluations, people coming to share what they're doing in their spaces. Thank you so much. Over to you, Prof. And as Prof is coming, I would like to acknowledge and in our midst, Department of Agriculture, Land and Rural Development from Pretoria, if they can stand up all the way from Pretoria. We just want to say hello as KZN. Do we have them in the room? I was informed we have that department. Is it Public Works? Oh, futhi angidukisa. Nambe ngizwile ukuthi usisi Public Works. Okay, can you please stand so that they see you? And then be joined by Nsiga Consulting. Where is Nsiga? There they are, thank you. And the Microsoft SA. Thank you so much, Sandile. Over to you, Prof. As we close the session for us, and we are going to be moving to lunch.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cook. Greetings, colleagues. I was not given a warning that I will be speaking. Otherwise, I would have dressed properly. Yeah. It's got a bow tie, but I can't compete with him today. I stand between you and lunch, so I won't be long. I just want to highlight a few things. I think, firstly, that KwaZulu-Natal is as far as I know, the only province with a provincial planning commission. The rest of the other provinces don't have. And that commission drives the provincial growth and development strategy and plan. And the chairperson of the commission at the strategy meeting last month indicated the gap that we have around local government in terms of driving implementation and driving evaluation. And this was a strategy for planning for the actions for this year. And I think sitting here as a member of that commission, I can see that gap, and I was so excited to see the presentation from Usis Kuli around this issue of eThekwini and the progress that has been made, which tells me that it is possible. Isn't it encouraging? Yeah. That you can, if you put your mind to it, you can actually come up with a plan, work on your structures, build your team, build capacity, and actually do it, and begin to see the difference. I think what is a little bit sad for me is the fact that they almost have to work undercover because the results that they produce from evaluation may not always be welcomed by the principals because they don't always make the principals look good. But again, when I'm listening to Usviwa as well, talking about the fact that we continue to do things, to spend money, to have activities, but communities are the ones evaluating us. And this is true. And a lot of the times we plan, but in our plans we don't think and we don't talk about what success looks like. And success is not how many JoJos you bring into my town. Success for me is how many people now have access to water. And that's it. You can bring JoJos, it doesn't matter, and you can tell us what you've done, but if the community does not have access to water after that, you would not have actually achieved the success. So we constantly have to ask ourselves what success looks like. And when we plan, we have to articulate what that success looks like. And the moment we start to have protests, it means that it doesn't matter how much effort we are making. And I have to acknowledge, most people who are on the implementation side, they work hard. They mean well, they've got good intentions, and they are doing a lot of work on the ground. Let's not underestimate that. But I think, as it was said, is that perhaps because of a poor plan, or perhaps because of poor implementation, your efforts may not result in the benefit that is intended. And so then people are going to protest. Many of these things you can reduce by having good evaluation. And it makes me think, when you are speaking, Zviwe, that why don't we design evaluation with communities? Because they know what they're looking for. If they're already evaluating us and we are struggling to understand evaluation, why don't we get them to tell us what the evaluation should look like? We can figure out the methodology, but they know what the success is going to look like. Let's think about that. And I know, as I said, I'm aware from what Uses Kulilwe said that it's not always comfortable when you are being told that, sorry, you've put in a lot of effort, you've put in a lot of resources into this, but it's not making a difference in my life. But that's what evaluation does. Evaluation tells us whether what we are doing is making a difference in people's lives, right? The other thing I just want to mention is that I think what we are seeing in the presentations in the panel, this panel, is that it's also possible to change culture. It's possible to institutionalize evaluation. But it does also mean that there is unlearning to do, because people have learned certain practices that they're so comfortable in them, and now we have to get people to unlearn those things before we build capacity in this kind of form of evaluation that we are talking about. And again, this may also be uncomfortable for a lot of people because we tend to be resistant to change, right? But when it comes to the evaluation and evaluation thinking, it means that you must always be willing to reflect and to adopt a new way of thinking. So I want to thank the panel for what they have shared with us, but I also want to invite Uses Kulilwe to present to the Provincial Planning Commission. So that the commission can also see that the questions that they have are being answered. And I'm hoping that out of that discussion, we can also have commitment to make sure that all the municipalities in KZN are going to be capacitated to do M&E, especially evaluation, the evaluation side of things. But with those few words, let me thank you all, colleagues, and thanks all the panelists, but also allow you to have something to eat for lunch. Thank you, Sisku.
Thank you very much, Prof. Let's give a very big round of applause again. Thank you so much. So I'm not going to say anything, because everything that he has said, I was going to say it. Thank you so much for now, for being a very good audience. I don't know what's the time is 2:20. Unfortunately, we now have to come back at 3. And then may we request that all of us, we are seated at 3, so that we give Mr. Mahlaba the respect that he deserves. Please, we are requesting that we just be fast with our lunch, and then we are seated at 3 o'clock. Thank you very much. See you soon. Thank you to our panelists.
Sound yakho fanele ukusebenza from HDMI manicabanga ngoba le project also you've got 2 ngakwazi ucisha la ngaze ngithuka umuntu kanti
bakuhlupha ngendlela efanayo.